Indy 500. The guy that got off on the "my client is an idiot" defense in trial a few weeks ago, and is now back in his car. He was back in his car that weekend.
I remember what you said about that. My client's a race car driver. Do you think he knew what he was doing?
That
No.
is almost like word for word what the attorney said.
Really?
Yeah, it was something more along the lines of Elio. Does anybody here really believe Elio had any hand in what's going on with his finances? No, he's a driver, and all he did was drive, and that he did, or something like that. It was really cheesy, the quote from the attorney. But yeah, basically their whole argument was that he's a race car driver, and he has no clue what's going on with his money, and somebody else was doing it.
Well, and now he goes from that to winning the pole for the Indy 500.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting because I don't know how much you watch, but in the IRL there's a really bad discrepancy going on right now.
There's 3 big teams.
No, there's 2 big teams. There's one.
What, Target and Penske?
Penske and Chip Ganassi Racing are the big teams. Andretti Green was a big fish. Now they're a sizable fish, but pale in comparison to Chip Ganassi and Penske.
So is it because I don't watch it a ton?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like the discrepancy in NASCAR or worse?
It's worse. Like literally, if you don't drive for Penske or Ganassi, you're probably not going to win. Very once in a while, an Andretti Green car will win. Other than that, it's Penske.
So then it's way worse than NASCAR.
It's way worse than NASCAR. It's like
That's
F1.
not very good. I don't like that.
No, me neither. There's a big long story behind this. Give me a second.
Doug's
I'm getting quite parched
drinking
here.
his Mountain Dew. Oh, it's not Mountain Dew.
It's Pepsi this week. Thank you very much.
Shout out to PepsiCo.
I'm expecting my check in the mail.
Shout out to PepsiCo.
No, basically what happened was there were starting around 2003, there were 2 new engine manufacturers in the IRL because they don't run different manufacturers, they just run different engines and they run different chassis bodies. They were Honda and Toyota that came in. Both came in way better than the existing engine, which was Chevrolet. So Chevrolet gets run out of town because they can't compete. Honda, Toyota starts out the better engine, but after 1 year, Honda gets a huge advantage for whatever reason. All the Honda teams, which was pretty much Andretti Green at the time, just dominated everybody, which is the time when Kanaan and Dan Whelan both won championships. I think it was after 2005. Toyota left completely. Everybody runs Hondas. Well, in that time when Penske and Ganassi were running Toyotas, all they could do was focus on making the cars faster, working on the chassis setup and all that. So that now they have the same engine, all of a sudden their cars are way better. And since then, nobody's been able to catch Penske or Ganassi. And it's been Castroneves since it started in 06, so that would be Hornish won in 06. Actually, Frank Keedy, I should correct myself. Frank Keedy won the championship in 07, but he didn't have the best car all season. He just got lucky. Then last year it was Dixon, won everything, dominated the Indy 500, won the championship by far. And right now, obviously you got Penske sweeping the front row, third place driver is Ganassi. The only thing is we got this guy Graham Rahal in fourth, who qualified and Dixon got moved to fifth.
I actually have heard that name. He's a
Bobby
phenom.
Rahal's.
Yeah, Bobby Rahal's son.
He's
son, right? Not grandson.
Bobby Rahal's son. Yeah, he's doing okay for himself for
not being on the big teams.
Yeah, he's doing all right for himself.
I don't like that. As a I would say for this sport, as a casual fan, I don't like that. I don't like that there's an 80% chance or whatever that 2 teams are going to win. I don't like that.
That's kind of how it is right now. And it's a real shame, but I mean, it's kind of how it is. And we've gone to Indy. I don't know. You've gone the last couple of years in Chicago, the Indy races.
I actually haven't been there in a few years, but I have been there before.
The last couple of years, actually,
pretty decent racing.
The racing is really good, but Chicago's a weird track compared to some of the other ones, but their racing's really close. Last year was Castroneves who won, like on a photo finish, over Dixon. Fortunately, that wasn't enough because Dixon had to finish like 4th, and he had to win.
And I think what fears I have a little bit are I am a huge auto racing fan. You know that. However, with this sport, with IRL, I would say I'm more of a casual fan. And if I am a huge auto racing fan and have worries and kind of like disinterested a little bit, what does that mean for the potential fans that are on the fence of am I going to watch it or not? Because the statistics have shown, sadly, over the last couple of years of the Indy 500 just is not what it used to be, and it just makes me sad.
Well, it all goes back to '96 when they split up. Now they're back together, but not back together in the sense of we put aside our differences and are stronger than ever, but more like the IRL agreed to basically eat the remains of of Champ Car, and now it's all IRL. It's actually somebody won at the great cost to the entire United States open wheel racing, and it's done nothing but hurt it. The IRL now is what kart was back in like '99, and kart back in '99 was not great. It was pretty crummy racing, which is a shame because I used to really love the IRL back in 01, 02. They had some really good racing going on then, back when everybody runs Chevys, and it was teams like Panther Racing. Before anybody else from kart showed up, it was Panther Racing and Eddie Cheever with this Red Bull team and all that. Those were the days.
Yeah. That being said, everything we've just said, we will both still watch the Indy 500.
Are you kidding me? To me, the Indy 500, that day is one of the best days of auto racing of the year. Because you get up in the morning, 11 o'clock, or maybe it's like noon now. You got the Indy 500 on. It's still a prestigious race, so you still want to watch. And then it's over, and it's like an hour until the Coke 600 starts.
Yeah, it's almost like bathroom break and get a little barbecue in.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you're sitting in front of the TV eating and all that and everything. And it's a really great day for auto racing. I love it.
We should do an on-location show. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, maybe.
Location from Doug's living room.
Maybe in Joliet. I didn't say anything, but maybe. Coming out of that, I'd like to go to a new segment I like to call Manny and Mayfield. Chris, you want to enlighten the people about what Manny and Mayfield segment is?
Basically, what happened last Thursday, as it works out, just a day after we were done taping last week. In big news, Manny Ramirez, starting left fielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Manny.
Was suspended not one game, Doug. Not 5 games.
Oh, no.
50 games.
Not 50.
So, in essence, a third of the season. Just under a third of the season for violating baseball's, basically drug and...
Basically steroid policy. Let's just call it the steroid policy because that's the big thing.
I don't know the exact name. It's
the exact wording.
Yeah, they're violating their substance and drug
substance abuse policy or whatever
it is. Yeah, and his before we even get to the second half of this, his story was that he actually...
My doctor gave it to me.
Well, not just that, but he was taking a female fertility drug that is used for people coming off a steroid cycle.
Yep.
So then before we move on with that, then 2 days later, just 48 hours later, Jeremy Mayfield, a regular, I use that term loosely.
I think the big thing about Mayfield is that he is a full-time Cup driver.
Yeah, he's a regular Sprint Cup driver, was suspended indefinitely for violating NASCAR's substance abuse policy.
Which really has become more prominent since the start of this season.
Yeah, actually, they just changed it this year. They just changed it this year.
Out of lots of criticism, because if you don't, and the history of that is if you haven't heard about it, Aaron Fike was a part-time Busch Series and Truck Series driver who got arrested in 06 or 07.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 06 for heroin, for possession of heroin. And then a year later, he's doing an interview with somebody on ESPN, and he comes out and says that he actually used on a race day, which is not just a big no-no, it's also frightening, really, to think that somebody's on some sort of illegal narcotic while on the racetrack. And this is where
we'll talk about NASCAR first with Mayfield. I think that I love the policy, and there really is. And I've heard Andy Petrie, who I really like, I've heard Andy Petrie say that he is a big advocate of it because in any sport, of course, I'm sure we would agree on this, any sport, it's terrible. It's terrible in any sport. But I think even more so, especially in NASCAR, where there are, I'll use the term heavy machinery. There are heavy machines. There are 42 other competitors. There are pit crew members. There are fans. I don't think there's any room for it at all.
There's not. There's no way that you can ever make a case for somebody being on a track in a 3,400-pound stock car going at speeds potentially exceeding 200 miles an hour. Occasionally.
And forget endangering yourself. It's like drinking. It's like drinking and driving in the regular world.
Yeah.
You're endangering 42 other competitors.
Yeah, and it's always been. I mean, it's such a no-no that. Drivers have long had it in their contracts that they are not allowed to consume alcohol or anything like that within 24 hours of a race whatsoever. Or actually, I think it was track activity even. That's why, if you remember back in March when Martin Truex Jr. was in the hospital the night before the race because he was passing a kidney stone, he was not allowed to take medication because he would not have been cleared to race because because it was within that 24-hour